In this episode of Retro Gamer Nation, we take a look at It's Magic 2 for the Commodore 64, originally released by Protovision back in 2001. The original It's Magic game was released in 1997 and featured jump and run platform gaming action whereby you play the role of a mischievous cat attending wizard school called Tommy, who one day sneakily takes a wizard's spellbook and magic crystal ball and catapults himself to explore an unfamiliar world. It's Magic 2 sees you reprise the role of Tommy, who allows his curiosity to get the better of him once again when he sneaks into his master's library to open up a magic chest that was being used to entrap the wizard's evil stepbrother for all eternity. That is, until our little tomcat had unknowingly released him from his prison. Well, the evil wizard is now out for revenge and has spread chaos across the Dream Islands. It's now up to you to navigate Tommy across 5 lands to collect all the diamonds once again and destroy the end monsters that habitate each island in order to wrest control back from the evil wizard. Your first impressions of It's Magic 2 will be that the game looks somewhat familiar. Yes, the run and jump platform style action reminds of Monster Mayhem. Yes, the graphics appear to grab a strong inspiration from creatures. And yes, those diamonds kind of do remind you of Gianna Sisters. And perhaps it's because of these resemblances you're immediately drawn into the game, eager with anticipation on what is in store for you. While the original game allowed Tommy to shoot magic at enemies, in this sequel, Tommy eliminates enemies by jumping on them, which turned out to be easier and a much more enjoyable gaming mechanism. Each of the 5 island game worlds are comprised of 6 levels. You progress through each of the levels by collecting all the diamonds and reaching the far right side. You are free to backtrack the game world as needed, providing a sense of freedom within the game. The game controls are spot on. Controlling Tommy feels quite responsive and his jumps have the right amount of weight to them, meaning that the game is very enjoyable to move around in. It's Magic 2 does feature a broad range of enemies, each with their own pattern of movement and attack. At the end of the 6th level of each island world, you will come across a boss battle. The game graphics are very well done and quite pleasing to the eye. The overall scrolling is silky smooth and the semi-parallax scrolling effect in the sky is a nice touch and reinforces the overall quality of the game. The first world levels not only have a strong resemblance to the game creatures, but it also looks quite similar to the first levels found in the original It's Magic. But to the game's credit, all other game worlds have their own distinctive look, introducing additional enemy types as you go along. While It's Magic 2 does have many strengths, there is one thing that prevents it from being an all-time C64 classic. The level designs are somewhat repetitive. Despite each world having 6 levels, there appears to be only 2 variations in these layouts per game world, as the game alternates between them. To their credit, the development team has tried to include some variation by making the enemies more aggressive as you go through the levels. But still, you just can't help but feel that the levels seem a little bit too similar to one another. The game difficulty is quite well balanced at the start, and you should not have too much trouble getting through the first 2 game worlds. However, this changes quite dramatically from the 3rd world, as the number of enemies and their level of aggressiveness increases to what feels like quite punishing heights. Fortunately, the game has a password system that allows you to start new games by bypassing already completed game worlds, encouraging you to persist with the game. Completing It's Magic 2 will feel like a grind at times due to the limited variation of level design and its difficulty curve, but completing a game does feel rewarding. And it is for this reason that you will persist. The game is really well presented, with high production values. Yes, it does contain many borrowed elements from classic C64 games, but it's done so with a considered purpose, and because of this, the game works quite well. It's Magic 2 is available as a digital download from Protovision's itch.io page, but Protovision has just made It's Magic 2 available in a physical cartridge edition that comes with a hand-drawn map, an A5 manual, and a mini figurine of Tommy, the main character of the game. The cartridge version also has a couple of special features, which include the ability to select the level of difficulty and the ability to configure the fire button to jump. Why don't you go over to the Protovision webshop before the stock runs out and grab yourself a coffee?